Renewal. It was the word on everyone's lips. If you grew up Catholic in the decades after Vatican II, you heard it constantly. It was the promise, the beautiful, hopeful idea that the Holy Spirit was doing something new, unleashing the people of God. But for many of us today, that word stings. It feels loaded. It became associated with stripping away mystery, with guitar masses that felt more like a coffeehouse than a sacrifice, with doctrines presented as up for debate. For some, renewal started to feel less like a springtime of the church and more like a wrecking ball aimed at our traditions. So what happened? Did Vatican II get it wrong? Or did we get Vatican II wrong? Here's a personal, challenging insight. What if the problem isn't the Council's idea of renewal, but our modern misunderstanding of it? What if true renewal doesn't mean inventing something new, but restoring something ancient and glorious? Let's look at the language. The Council Fathers didn't use words for innovation or revolution. In the key documents, they used a very specific vocabulary. In Sacrosanctum Concilium, the Constitution on the Liturgy, the Latin verb instaurare, meaning to restore, appears 10 times. Restituere, to give back, appears 5 times. The goal wasn't to create from scratch, but to repair and revive. As the document says, elements that had suffered injury through accidents of history were to be restored to the vigor which they had in the days of the Holy Fathers. This is a cosmic difference from a revolutionary mindset. A revolution topples and replaces. Renewal restores and refreshes. It's the difference between tearing down an ancient, weathered cathedral and painstakingly cleaning its stained glass, repairing its stonework, and letting its original beauty shine through for a new generation. We saw this pattern with religious orders. The Decree Perfecti Caritatis called them to return to the spirit of their founders and their sound traditions. For the Eastern churches, it meant returning to their ancestral traditions. The model was always looking back to a purer source to move forward faithfully. But in practice, something else took over. A revolutionary logic crept in. The thinking became, if things aren't perfect after the changes, we didn't change enough. If people are still leaving, the church is still too demanding, too mysterious, too old. So we must go further. Remove the Latin. Simplify the fasting. Question the hard teachings. It became a cycle where the goalposts of renewal kept moving, and the ancient treasures of the church were left by the roadside. So, how do we stop talking about renewal and actually start doing it? The Council gave us a very clear, concrete test case, Gregorian chant. In Sacrosanctum Concilium, it is unequivocal. Gregorian chant is specially suited to the Roman liturgy and should be given pride of place. This wasn't a suggestion. It was a recognition of its intrinsic, centuries-deep connection to our worship. Pope St. Pius X called it the chant proper to the Roman Church, inherited from the ancient fathers. It is our unique musical patrimony. Yet for decades, it was often the first thing cast aside in the name of renewal. If we believe renewal means restoration, then reviving this sacred music is not a step backward. It is the very work of renewal we were called to do. And here's the hopeful part. This work is happening. Right now, groups like the Latin Mass Society and the Gregorian Chant Network are leading a grassroots revival. They're organizing chant training days across the UK, in London, Portsmouth, and Oxford. For example, on February 28, 2026, at St. Dominic's Priory in London, there's a day focused on Dominican chant, led by experts like Father Matthew Jarvis OP, and it's open to everyone from total beginners to experienced singers. This is what real renewal looks like. It's not a top-down program, but the faithful rediscovering a buried treasure. It's learning to sing the prayers that have clothed the liturgy for over a millennium. As one musician involved said, it's about plugging into spiritual assistance and fostering a recommitment to the church's needs. So, the next time you feel a pang of loss for the beauty and mystery that seems faded, don't just lament. Ask yourself, what can I restore? The call of Vatican II wasn't to make the church look more like the modern world. It was to help the modern world encounter the timeless beauty of Christ. And sometimes that journey starts with learning a very old song.